I've made it clear that it's our primary intention in the SNP to fight to retain the Human Rights Act for the whole of the UK. However, the disrespect with which our previous amendments to this bill have been met, and the recent exclusion of all Scottish MPs from the Joint Committee on Human Rights gives me and my colleagues on this bench absolutely no confidence that the wishes of the Scottish electorate will be respected by this Parliament.
Would my honourable and learned colleague give way? I've just noted from a sedentary position a Conservative backbencher responding to her point about the SNP being excluded from the Human Rights Committee of this House by saying, good. Might she take the opportunity to take an intervention from the honourable gentleman so he can explain why the party that represents almost every single constituency in Scotland should be excluded from that important committee of this House?
I'm very grateful to my right honourable friend for drawing that to my attention. I will be delighted to take the intervention and to hear why this honourable member, who I believe is a lawyer of sorts, thinks it is acceptable for all Scottish MPs to be excluded from the Joint Committee on Human Rights. Will he tell us and the people of Scotland why he thinks that's acceptable?
What is important, Madam Deputy Speaker, is that we have sensible lawyers on that committee. The Honourable Lady keeps stating that it's not a reserved matter. It is a very obvious reserved matter to the United Kingdom Parliament. And that's my point. That's my point.
Was that it?
Well, I'm sure that the viewers in Scotland who are watching just now and the people who will read this debate in Hansard tomorrow will be very interested to hear what the honourable member has just said. And we're very interested to hear that he thinks it's acceptable that all the elected representatives of the Scottish electorate are excluded from a joint committee of this House whose purpose it is to scrutinise bills of this House for human rights compliance across the UK.
I'm grateful to my honourable friend. He'd probably be equally delighted that there's 6 unelected donors and cronies from the House of Lords on that committee and no place for any Scottish Member of Parliament on it.
We must be.
I'm sure he will. But I think what his interventions indicate, what his interventions and his earlier speech indicate and underline, is the reality of the concern that we have on this side of the House, that the wishes of the Scottish electorate in relation to the preservation of the Human Rights Act will not be respected. I reiterate that we wish to make common cause with the Labour Party, the Lib Dems, members from Northern Ireland and members from the other side of the House to preserve the Human Rights Act for the whole of the United Kingdom. I want to. We want to. I said we. If you listen carefully, I know my accent's a bit difficult to follow, but I said we. So our primary position is that we intend to preserve the Act for the whole of this United Kingdom. However, the purpose of this amendment is to give us the option to be sure that we can implement the settled will of the Scottish people to keep the Human Rights Act for Scotland in the event that we're not successful in keeping it for the whole of the United Kingdom.